Hey everyone, so we are having a commit events template kickoff. What I mean by this is we're going to focus on commit because it's a huge event coming up, but we want to do this work so that we're making a template within our new CMS so that it can service all events, limit the onesie twosie kind of things, and make a program. So quick little kickoff. We've got a great group of people here. We've got a loose agenda, so I figured maybe just a quick snapshot of who's on this call, what are your roles on the project, so what's your involvement and who's responsible for what. I think that would be great, and let's just focus on just simply answering those. I want to learn everything about your whole lives, but we have a timeline. So who would like to jump in?
I'll go. I'm Tina, user experience designer on the digital experience team. I'm passionate about templates, and that's why I'm here.
I'll hop in. I'm Lauren Barker. I'm full stack developer for the marketing website, so I will be helping out with building the template.
I can go. I'm Laura. I've been assigned a little bit of the work to do quick page updates for the existing commit landing page that we're kind of reusing from last year. So just adding kind of the newer information, but I haven't been involved in template production, but glad to be here.
I can go. I'm Emily, lead the brand activation team, which includes corporate events. So we've been running this event. This will be our third year. And yeah, I'll pass it off to Lauren, who is the ultimate project DRI for this, so she can introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Lauren. I'm from the brand activation team in the corporate events side. And Emily, as Emily just said, this is my child. So yes, so Emily is really focused on a lot of the behind the scenes execution, dotting the I's, crossing the T's on some of these things, and making sure that we're moving forward in ways that can benefit other events and other company things moving forward. And I'm a little more narrowly focused on getting this event out the door, if that makes sense.
Hi everyone, I'm Suri. I'm from the content team. I'm on the call because I'm helping with commit and I have lots of ideas and would like to share them.
Awesome, I love that. Thanks for sharing, everyone. I'm Michael Price. I'll kind of just be like air traffic controller between the digital experience team and the brand, Lauren and content stuff. So I love this kind of work. This is something that I'm super impressed. I can't believe this is only the third year. This seems like something everyone's been running for at least 5. So I'm
GitLab are dog years. So
sorry?
Really, it's like dog years here at GitLab. So really, we'll be 21. We're gonna celebrate accordingly.
It's probably because the first one we did, we had 5 months to plan, and we did 3 versions of it in person within 2 months of each other. Right. So that counted as 6 events, and then we had to move it from being in person to virtual last year. So that adds on a couple goes essentially, and so that's how we got here.
Yeah, nice. Well, it's super impressive as someone who's just been here for 10 months. Amazing work. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so we have in the agenda, there's 4 links just to stuff. So if there's anything anyone else thinks of, let's just throw it up there. I thought that we could discuss high level project definition and goals. So to make sure that what we want to do on the digital experience side maps to what we want to do on the actual event side. And we can, what we're going to find is there's going to be a set of constraints. But those shouldn't be limitations, in my opinion. It should be view them as opportunities. And I would like to encourage us to have an immediate kind of time horizon of things we want to do, and then a longer one. Because the way I'm holding it in my head is there's commits coming in August. Said that was a slight question mark because I'm always not sure. But I believe so. I see nodding heads. So great, I'll say it more confidently. Commits coming in August. And I would love for us to have a version of what we're all going to do and the vision we have done for then. And then I would love for the next commit for us to be able to do some iterations after. And that's actually the thing that we're envisioning right now. So I just want to set that table like in true GitLab style. Like let's have the big vision, and then how can we like quickly iterate into it in a way that we're going to hit the most important things for brand and content and for you, Lauren.
Yeah, and just one thing to throw in the mix, because why not, GitLab. We are also starting the idea, and this will be our first go, we're going to have mini satellite commits that are not during the actual commit. So main commit is in August, and that is our primary focus, obviously, and most of the website is geared towards that and all of that. But we still also need to highlight these other things we're doing. Luckily, what we've decided to do is kind of hitch the wagon of the first two to kind of be like day zero kind of KubeCon events. And so it's going to be, commit at KubeCon, CI, commit at KubeCon, DevOps. So they're specifically focused. But we do have a third, which will be PubSec focused. So one of those is happening before commit, and it's actually going to be in May with the KubeCon EMEA. And then the other two are October and November accordingly. So they're after main commit as well. So our primary focus is, like, when I say commit, I'm referencing the singular, virtual event this time around, but we do have these 3 satellites that we're kind of testing out and seeing how these could work, and they could be a model of something that could have in-person elements and things like that as well.
That's really exciting. Is that sort of, just for my mental model, like, would I be wrong in kind of associating it with like TED and then TEDx sort of dynamic?
It's like a road show. It was originally like when we were in person, we wanted to do more of these, but we decided because we had so much abundance of content, and how do we continue to build on it and then utilize those assets? This is how that evolved out of that idea. So
that gives so much more. That helps. Thanks. That gives so much more like importance to templatizing and like making this it's almost like a little application. It's like an events application.
It also was like really helpful for like things like PubSec, where you kind of need to market to them differently, and it was able to just get a little more specific on that outreach and messaging.
And then moving forward, something we can iterate in, like, maybe going into next year, this is how maybe we do like a mini commit in certain regions where maybe we're not pouring as much in, like we couldn't do a full huge like conference, but we could definitely have, the interest and the resources and the content to do like a cool day event or half day type of thing. This kind of all plays together.
Yeah, it helps us with like what the world might look like in the future, where it's like we can't do large gatherings, but we can focus on these smaller things that are topic
like regional or topical.
I like to think that I've never been to Burning Man, but I understand the concept. So it's almost like you're setting up the framework for mini Burning Mans, and it's like here's like what should happen, but like make it your own and let us know how we can support.
Cool. So sorry to throw that at you, but I was just like, well,
I love it.
Speaking of this, like obviously the main focus is the main site, but just everyone should be aware we do need a module around, or there needs to be part of the site that is dedicated to these like one-off events, and that's kind of part of the package.
That's what I love about these conversations, is that information helps us immediately in how we're going to architect this, knowing how extensible or flexible it needs to be. So that's awesome. I have in point 2A sort of, it very much supports what you were just talking about. Like my project definition and goals for this work we're doing together is just a self-serve system that any event can use. And I just added a couple subpoints like upload, arrange, remove logos, add events with either videos, text, content, says test, dates, images, just whatever. I guess audio even would be something we might think about. And also I think like
a post-event module as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is so much nesting. Point 2A, 3, like previous events and the content is archived. That's a huge opportunity that I'm seeing for SEO, and just content. It's great content. Like where is it? It's gone. Like what a bummer.
So Mel and I actually talked about this yesterday. It's like it's the most polished content we have from some of the best speakers we have, and like you'd have to go looking for it to find it right now. And we want to, you know, kind of change that model where, you know, we highlight it better and use it.
I think that's just such good content to get. It's social proof. I'm on this like warpath for social proof. Like, I think that's the easiest way to make people choose GitLab is be like, oh, other people are using it. Like, knowledge workers have to make so many decisions all day. If we can make the decision really easy, that's how we're actually helping people, and then we're there. Suri, I want to hear from you about project definition and goals, or some of these ideas that you mentioned.
So I think for me, it was more about incorporating UX copy on the homepage, and Laura's done a great job creating like blocks, so this way it doesn't look like a wall of text. So trying to figure out a way to use design and layout to like break up copy. And Laura's done amazing with that. So
I stole that from last year. I can't take credit. I've been using the same CSS.
Just take credit for it.
Yeah, it's not my work, but yeah, it was really easy to just like yeet content in there and then like apply these styles that already existed. But I know that we do have like updated colors and text stacks. So we might want to freshen that up, but yeah, I can't take credit, but thank you.
Well, you can.
One thing I think is important to note is kind of just like themes around the event. So last year the theme was "You Belong Here," and we leaned in heavily to like obviously the things of belonging and making our customers like heroes, and just like being able to tell the stories of kind of everyday heroes and stuff. And this year our evolution of that is innovate together. So the goal of that was to have the same kind of feelings of belonging and community, and then also to tie in our new brand messaging. So that's how we landed there, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I'm taking a note. I'm hearing like how I would translate that into a project definition or goal is the ability to tie brand messaging and annual themes.
And I think something that's interesting where commit might be a bit of an outlier versus like potential other templates for other things is it has like so much more custom branding that like can evolve, and like obviously the theme's going to have a slightly different brand, and this year we're putting more like virtual forward. So it might be something where in template thinking about ability to like change colors or do something that's part of the template process, or still while we focus on templates for most of them, we acknowledge some might have slight like one-off elements where, you know, because this is evolving and is such a big part of our brand, but it's its own brand that's a little bit separate than, you know, say the commit brand versus like other events we might be putting, you know, creating a site for, which could be like a big day zero KubeCon or something like really cool like that. That's much more in line with like the standard GitLab like branding that we would, you know, use on the site. So I'm sure you're accounting for this, but I just felt like I needed to say it out loud once. So at least there was a record of it. Yeah,
no, I really appreciate that. I think there's a way we can do both. In my career, I've been asked to make customizable templates like 100,000 times. And I'm like, those words actually don't go together. But there are ways that we can make it work by being very like lenient on what the template is and creating. I view it just as like, we're just going to create a bunch of walls that everyone can hang art on. Like it should be that flexible. And I love positive conflict that leads to amazing outcomes. So if our team who's making the template is ever saying like, this is the template, and you know, Lauren, you're like, well, this is like a thing that's really important, we need to break the template, that's where amazing happens. So no, that's why I want to get everyone together to know like we're working on the same thing, we're all trying to make it as awesome as possible, and let's like celebrate everybody's expertise. And sometimes we're just gonna have to like, whatever, what does it say in the handbook, like argue, commit, argue. Let's just make sure that we are coming from a place of positive intent and understand like, okay, like there must be a reason, or like this must be really important. Like I don't need to win every battle, let's just change the header to green text. Like no one's gonna die.
No, that's totally fair, and I appreciate, you know, transparency on that, and, you know, being able to have that type of conversation where, you know, yeah, because you never know what's going to happen. Like last year, we pivoted everything virtual. You never know what can happen in the world. And suddenly it's like, hey, we need to like make sure we're really highlighting this majorly in a way that isn't built into the template because the whole world's changed again. So just to know that there's that type of flexibility, but while we're committed to moving forward to setting this up to be the most mutually beneficial to everyone and the most efficient, that's just good to have in the hopper.
Awesome.
Also for context, I added in the 2020 commit results deck into the like relevant issues doc stuff, so that can help in in terms of the persona we've attracted. And then I think it might help. Did I hear a whoa?
No, I just said cool.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know this existed.
It exists. Yeah, I'm just trying to give you all the context. I would also note that how we've thought about commit is using it as like a really high touch differentiator for like for our customers, and like as an opportunity to again do like high level interaction with them that we don't have elsewhere. And it's like, I don't think it's like where we invest in their buying journey and in our customers, and I don't see that a lot elsewhere. And so this is somewhere that's always been the case here. So I didn't articulate that well, but I think everybody understands.
You did. That's like totally obvious when I hear you say it, but I hadn't thought of it. This is commit not only is an event, it's also like a community building activity, which was totally lost on me until this like 3 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's a weird synergy of community. It's like
cool.
Us advancing the brand, right? And like messaging and like awareness. There's the community and like getting a chance to really expand, land and expand within the community that is, diverse and, open and all of that. And then also there's a surprising sales opportunity that was not part of the initial iteration of commit. It was more like, oh, people just want to like hang out and talk. And then it turned out that it's a great opportunity for sales to, either with existing clients that they need to upgrade or push over, people who have questions, getting them over the hump, or getting people much further down the path in a much quicker way than they would initially be in the pipeline.
That makes a ton of sense. It actually correlates to a conversation I had with one of the analysts a couple of weeks ago that, we're really focused on this free trials, and it might have something to do with improper lead scoring, because she was showing me some data that was indicating like webinars and like self-initiated video content actually had a really high propensity to lead to a conversion. And it totally maps to everything you just said, Lauren. Interesting. On the technical side, Lauren or Laura, is there anything in project definition and goals that you want to bring up?
Based on how long it's taking right now to build the blog template with Slippers and Netlify CMS, it's about a month. So we should start getting this started ASAP.
That's very quick though. A month is, that's what you're gonna say 3. So many else, you're right. Okay, based on current velocity. Is that, Lauren, when you say that, is that from like Tina handing you over the UX like design, or is that the entire?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and the blog one is the first template we're building with the Slippers integration. So we should be faster the second time around, but it's a new process that we're learning on our end too. So
cool. So maybe we'll say we'll add a half month's grace.
So I was going to say something that's probably relevant here is we intend and like are kind of planning around launching registration in May. To piggyback off the fact that we're going to be part of that Cube, we're doing the commit at KubeCon. The first satellite event is kind of in the beginning of May, and that's an opportunity for us to create traffic and buzz, and we need registration to support that. And so that's when a lot of our efforts are going to start really heavily on publicizing and spreading it and comms and all of that. And so having a website in place that supports, that vision of the program. Like what we have now is fine for, getting some sponsors and getting people to submit to talk and all of those important things. But, once we get to registration, we don't want to be like, hey, we're changing the site entirely in the middle of that sort of process.
That last point actually was just contradicting what I was just going to say. Could you just speak a little bit more to your hesitancy to changing the site after registration?
There will be changes, right? Like as things become more ready for the event, right? Like suddenly we're going to add a schedule module to the site that's not going to be there when we're launching registration. And we're going to add more speakers. And like, this is a site that is constantly updating based on event information. But if we're going to start putting money into and like do our full social press, and we're going to be working on all these impressions, ideally, and I say this is, best case, like we're at a place where the site looks the best it's gonna, maybe not the best it's ever gonna look, but is much further down the path than where it is now, to be, visible as we're now putting money into and, putting effort into driving attention and awareness of.
I think I'm following. So like vibe is not going to change, but like structure and even like URLs aren't going to change because we're going to be driving people to certain things.
We're tracking traffic and then and all.
Okay, that's okay. Cool. That's so helpful because what I was going to say before, I just was like, wait a minute, that could be a monkey wrench, or it could be totally aligned with what I was going to say, and it's aligned. I think is like leading up to May, lowest amount of effort, but most on brand. Which the way we do that is like facade. Like if anyone looked at the code, they'd be like, have you ever done this before? Like
that's what I'm like. I want the pretty. We need the facade. We can be changing all sorts of awesome stuff in the background, and obviously as we come across more elements we're going to need to add to the site that won't be then, that'll all change. But we want the vibe that people are going to expect from the commit brand for this year to be there when we're starting to push attention, and the URLs to kind of stay the same, and those elements.
Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna say that's easy, even though I'm not the one doing it, but it's easy-ish.
I'm curious, I guess, I was going to ask Laura Barker. I know that in the past, like how our Netlify CMS has been working for existing templates that we've switched over. It takes the old page and it just wipes it out and puts our new content. So this idea of scaffolding new pieces together, I don't know how that works in Netlify CMS. And so Lauren, question.
We need to build a totally new template, migrate all the content. And we got to finish this by the end of April to allow content time to build and iterate on their content and get it started. So that's about 7 weeks for us. So we got to get started cracking on this ASAP.
So I'm going to make it in requirements in point 3. I'm going to just add like we'll need, I don't know the right word, like we'll need peoples to be doing this work. Like what we've learned is the way that things are working, we can't actually like programmatically import it. It's like high touch. So luckily there are 10 commits that we have to do this. See, Siri. But we'll need to discuss either between Emily or Lauren, or maybe it's Suri, like who can we appoint once we have built the template, who's the one that's going to be doing the copy and pasting effectively of moving it to where it needs to live. Sorry. Okay. People.
I have a question. You were talking about vibe and facade. I'm wondering, nobody from brand is on this call, and I have. Oh, there's somebody. Okay, because I have seen some conversations about the brand team creating some assets, but I'm not following closely those issues. And if we're building templates, I want to make sure we're aligned on having some areas that we're building that are keeping in mind some of the things they have in mind, and that it's also reasonable and feasible for engineering for such a short deadline.
I think that's a pain point that we've felt so far, and why I thought we would have this kickoff is part of what I'm hoping is going to solve that. Is where design is designed because there's a set of constraints. That's why it's not art. Art is like creative constraints to like for the individual artist to express themselves. I won't go into the deep depths of what the difference is, but I am confused how a brand team can create assets without knowing what the dimensions or requirements are. It's like handing over a magazine cover to the New Yorker in a triangle format and being like, just make it work. It's like, well, sorry, we have a square magazine. So
So the
a
asset
rectangle.
requests that are out now on brand are just around like our general evolution of like, what is the, like Emily mentioned, the theme is different this year. So Innovate Together, we had like an illustrative version of, you know, You Belong Here from last year. Like that's a request now to brand to be like, hey, develop what we think this is going to look like illustratively. So we can format it and use it in a bunch of different places, because we can't also just be like, hey, overnight, here's the specs, your banner, we need a whole design concept. So they're working through the concept side of things right now that then we can like place into like existing asset sizes.
Cool.
So how we
For
have
a
like
lot
the
of different
general,
things, not just the
yes.
Yeah.
So how we have like the general brand deck for like all of GitLab, that's like colors and logo, you know, fonts, they're doing that for commit. And then creating, you know, general iconography and imagery. And they are primed to help on whatever you need. We just need to, like you said, like we need to know the specs and, you know, but Luke and Monica are ready to go and help and like know that they need to build out the time this quarter to do that. And next
I could see that a really successful like collaborative sesh, like whether it's async or not, but like understanding the intention behind the design and then having that like connection with Tina of like, and even Steven, who's our Steven, that's unfortunate, but whatever. Steven, who's our design system lead, connecting, you know, there's a lot of things that go missed, such as like accessibility, you know, color contrast, all things we can like actually be sued for. So having that collaboration and co-creating that together to make sure that font sizes are right or color contrasts are actually readable by people who are colorblind. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Right, just being like, oh, these are the brand colors, have to use them, but then in actuality, it's not accessible.
Yeah,
so like
or
the
like
brand knows that, and they
use...
can give you a second option for like on digital versus on print that's like, you know, accessible, not sort of.
Yeah. So we just had that call yesterday with them. So I think next steps would definitely be like whomever from the design, the brand side, and whoever from like web design get together and they like mesh on those things.
Yeah, like things, fundamental things like just the background color. Like I think the You Belong Here, Seeing is Believing campaign, like something that was challenging for us was most of it was a full orange color flood background. Like that, our site has a white background. To make that work, you know, all of a sudden we might have to like change the nav banner. Like there's a lot of knock-on things that might not be known from a technical standpoint, and that's so easy to cover in a conversation.
Design's gonna design. They're gonna do the painting behind you. Like if they don't have specs, they're just gonna make whatever like feels good and they think looks good. And so that's where it's like combining those two. So then we're using the best of design and we're designing and it's efficient and not a waste. And then it's, you know, the best fit for what you can actually execute on the site and is gonna actually work on the site and like marry those two together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in full agreement.
We've been very clear with them that like this is a virtual first event and it needs to reflect that. And obviously the site is like our front door, like it's everything for this event. Like it's the main page of information and how people find us and everything. And so that's what comes first in terms of design, and then all other design should flow from, you know, that model.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, I just want to make sure we're able to honor their design intent, because I'm always concerned that like if we're making changes without consultation or consulting them, like we might change something that's like the red thread through the whole thing and we're like, oh well, we didn't see it. So yeah, this sounds like we're all speaking the same language. Are there any other requirements? Sarah, you had to drop. She was saying for the commit landing page, we need a couple new sections built on the page. There's an issue link. I think what she meant by the agency is our team on our agency days.
Yeah, so that's the stuff that I was working on. So those changes have been made. Again, they're in the old page style. And I'll keep, like, in terms of action items for me, I'm happy to do whatever, like, kind of facelift kind of stuff we need as content comes available, and update that page. But yeah, I kind of put in the doc point C under 3 that like there will probably have to be a switchover moment. when we go from using this old page to the new page sometime.
And I think on our side, we were kind of hoping that switchover moment would be like registration is live, because that's like a logical time to like swap on like which one we're pushing and what it looks like and all of that, because that's like an easy like milestone to be like a flip the switch and we're going, you know, another direction.
Hey, while we're on this topic of action items, do we want, I just added a 0.6. Based on what we're talking about. Well, the hard deadlines, I kind of felt like you had put them up on event dates, but do we want to, let's do that then. Let's go.
So, okay, I guess one thing that's important for y'all to note is like, we haven't picked the tool we're going to run the event on yet. And that is kind of contingent on all other hard deadlines. So what's important is that our contract with Hopin, which is what we use for like SCO, for example, it ends the week before the event happens, and then our pricing changes. So we need to have like hard discussions with them if that's going to be the tool we continue to use going forward. We want to use them, but again, that could change. So we're going to be deciding in the next month or so on that, and then need to go into contracting. So that is kind of like this big tipping point, or like, you know,
because that sets what type of registration we're using, right? Because if we're using them, it's a different setup than if we're defaulting to another system, and maybe like we're using Eventbrite like we would in person, which is something that needs to be accounted for and embedded into the website as a pop-up. And so some of those things flow a little bit differently.
Got it.
Okay. And I think that is something to account for, I think, in the template of thinking of like, hey, for moving forward in the world, assuming we're going to have things that might be in person at some point in the rest of our lives, there's a, you know, kind of a different flow that if it's a virtual event or if it's, you know, an online event versus like it's in person, because they're going to be different types of registration, like whether it's embed and pop out window goes back in, or like it's a direct drive to another site type of thing.
And so as soon as we know more, we'll keep you in the loop. But right now we just don't have that information. But that, again, like everything will kind of follow from when we can get that contract signed and when we decide on that tool. And our goal is to decide by, you know, end of April for sure.
I can totally empathize how that's stressful. I'm not super stressed from a template point of view, because again, I just see it as like windows or like the frame of a house. I'm like, cool, just tell me what color paint you want. We'll paint.
Yeah, it only might slightly impact like information architecture, but we can, you know, talk through that.
So action items. Are we good to move down to there? I want to keep
on sorry, I just want to make sure we like that, because I don't want to like ignore hard deadlines.
Yeah, I'll add that, like registration.
The only hard deadline we have right now is like the dates are set for the events, and then the CFP closes April 30th.
Yeah,
and those are the only ones we have right now.
Cool. So action items: plan switch to Netlify CMS transition. I think we could do an information architecture of new.
This might be a dumb question. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like jumping in, but I just want to account for the fact that too, like with the event website, and maybe this is something for the template, like when it's further out for the event, like different things are important, like pushing sponsorships and like CFP and sort of, but when you switch over to like, now we're driving to the event, those things either go away or move down to the bottom, and like registration is important. And then when you get into post event, it's like content is now important. And so I just want to make sure, and because I'm not a web designer by any stretch of the imagination, when we're thinking about, you know, module, making sure like, hey, we can move the order of things, or that's something that we can account for, because the needs of what we're pushing on like the top part of the website will change depending where you are in the event cycle.
Adding that to requirements, so the ability to adjust what's featured on the main landing page will improve.
Yeah, because it'll just change, and there's parts like, you know, that come in later, closer to the event, that are far more important, but ways out, they don't matter at all. And it's like, hey, we just have them towards the bottom, whatever, and then they became like, this is what's important, and then it kind of moves around. Yeah,
with the CMS, like none of the, it's all hard. And again, just to reiterate, this is like Laura and Tina who are going to be making this happen, but like this is what a CMS inherently solves. So I'm not stressed, but I know it's going to be a lot of work.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to say it out loud because I was like, hey, since we're discussing things, like I just want to make clear that this isn't like a static thing, like it's a living thing. It's not like, yay, we did it, woo.
Yeah, and I
it
think
will have priorities
totally.
that adjust depending on where we are in the event timeline.
That ties to what we were talking about at the top of the conversation, the self-serve nature of this system. Because selfishly what I want is I want to build it once and it to serve, you know, we'll support it. And when we need new things, we'll add to it. But like the amount of work Brandon had to put in last year, I was just like, that's not sustainable, nor is it scalable, but we can build a scalable, sustainable system. So we're all in alignment there. I love hearing that, Lauren.
I'd like to add that once, like, this template's gonna be able to self-serve your team. So making changes and updating that page will end up falling on your team to implement those. And so we should add somewhere in the action items training on this system. I think we should get started with the topics pages, so you're all really familiar with how that works, so that once the events template comes in, you're at least you know how to use that system already.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that also helps guide, like with the topics pages, the way it was built, which I found really interesting in like a good way, is there's all these feature blocks. Like if you have a call to action section, that's its own block. So you fit content based on what's available to you, and it can be like pretty, I guess, forgiving. Like you can do a lot of stuff with this template. So yeah, having the brand team, the content team be able to kind of control and drive what they need. Versus me, like right now I have, like you were mentioning, Lauren C, that the call for proposals closes April 30th. So right now that old site that I've been just kind of patching together, after April 30th, all those buttons that say like submit your CFP will change to like view 2020 on demand or whatever, like they all change, but that is a very manual process for me to go and put like if date equals before April 30th, do this, you know, it's kind of ugly. But that is like changeable. But yeah, it'll be great to have you guys be able to control your own content with the template. Yeah.
I will say, I think we might need, just to get ahead of it, like more support the like week of the event, because I know like those are
sure.
generally okay. I just want to like flag it as like
that's what I was saying. I was like,
and forget it.
All the training in the world will be great, but if like we're like 2 weeks out of the event and suddenly we have to change sponsors and we're moving all the stuff, we have to add directions, like there's going to be a lot of other stuff we're also doing at the same time. And
also, I think generally like more substantive changes happen, and like we usually try to do like last year on the like our actual homepage, we had the keynote video playing on the web page, and so things like that are just like slightly larger than these minimal tweaks we've been making and adjustments like might need to happen. So just wanted to like flag that if that's possible.
I think that you'll be surprised how easy all that, the two examples you just gave, I'm like, no, like you can do this.
Cool.
And I'll also say like this, when I said, let's have like a time horizon plan for not August 2021, let's plan for August 2022 for commit to be self-sufficient. So we're still there. We're not going to just be like, figure it out.
Perfect.
But the two
I didn't think so, but I was like, I also just don't, I'm like, we've made mistakes assuming things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to like clarify that's like,
we're like, don't all go on vacation that week, please.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I would say we're a minute over time, so we can start to wrap here, but it's really expensive for us to be making changes that can be made from someone who knows how to do like content entry. So maybe a conversation we could start is like, can we bring on some interns or some temporary events sort of staff that is actually more economical for the business? And this team, you know, we're there to support if need be, but for like the entering information into a CMS interface, like we can be doing a lot more valuable things to the business. So that maybe that's a conversation we can kick off with whoever we need to have that conversation with.
Yeah, we have some flexibility built into the event budget for stuff like this. So yeah, we can talk about it.
Cool. Is there any closing thoughts?
I know Emily had sent you a list of components and stuff to make sure that we're like accounting for, but I just wanted to double check like where we landed on that. So if there's any, you know, since you're going to start formulating and figuring out how to get there. I think that's an important action item, just to make sure we have all the components like accounted for and we're on the same page of understanding like what those are. And then my other action item was then obviously bringing like the brand discussion together for this going into it.
So create a single source of truth for components. I think I see, Tina, you added a comment right there. Is there a laundry list of content types? So that's related.
That answers my question.
Sorry, Lauren, your last point was like, as an action item, start conversation with brand.
Yeah, I mean, we are brand, but yes, but with the design branch of brand to make sure
Brand
that,
design.
you know, same page conceptually.
So I'd shared like the one pager stuff, but I don't know what like got trickled down, and I think Becky took it and started to run with it. So I'm unclear like what information people has. So I'll just reshare everything. Apologies if it's redundant. That's, I think,
Never bad hearing the same thing twice.
Okay.
It's all
Okay.
good. Anything else we should have talked about that we didn't?
So the flow of this will be, I guess, Tina will start working on those individual blocks and designs and how that'll look. And then Lauren and I can work on building the template in Netlify CMS.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think we also need that list of components. That's the first thing that I'll need. And I'm going to start creating some blocks before I create any templates.
I just added it above in the relevant issues.
Right.
So there's the CFP planning doc. I just put in like everything that we shared. Again, the copy, the landing page doc, which is our like wish list. And then there was the landing page edits, and that was for like the old site. So I think that might be irrelevant now, but just thought I'd share it. And then, yeah, anyway, you can read. So.
And then homework on my end, I was going to go in because Emily and I had talked about this previously, but I just want to make sure. And as we were talking through this, I thought it might be easier to classify stuff a little clearer, where it's like event lead up, like event, and then like post event changes. I think that could be helpful for like conceptualizing, you know, elements and things that come in. So I'll take a look at it as well. Again.
Cool. So first, would this work for single point of contact, like for this first phase of kind of solving the whole thing with UX? Lauren, would you be, Lauren Conway, two Laurens, would you be the single point of contact, and Tina would be the single point of contact on the digital experience team? Would that work for you? Or should it be Emily, or what? Who should be like the representative?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Emily, how do you want to do this?
Well, so what are the exact roles that you need from us right now for that? Because it might be better with like Luke. I just need to know.
Yeah, that's where I was like, maybe Luke is our.
I think Luke might be the best person.
Okay. Yeah. So how about we do Tina and Luke? And high level, it's just like, what's the concept? Like, what are the components that's working? What isn't working? What is the thing that we're making? And, you know, Tina can look at some examples. I added an example.
I'm the Luke Barnacle. So like I'm coming in, you know, from the set. So it's like I'm the Luke Barnacle.
And swoop and poop.
Logical for that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we're 6 minutes over time. I really appreciate everyone's engagement here. This is more helpful than you could imagine. So thanks for being open to it. And I love this kind of work. So I'm really excited about this.
It up. We're very excited. This site has for so long been just cobbled together, and I'm really excited for the future of it and the project.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, you all do amazing work, like putting an event together. My wife did that for years, and it's like no one understands how hard it is. It's near impossible.
Yeah, we'll take it.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll make something awesome happen.
Thanks everyone. Nice to meet everyone officially.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.